Hello BookTube, Sarah here and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm coming to you with my December 2017 wrap-up. So I have a bunch of stuff to talk about, so let's jump in and get started. I read a grand total of 22 books in December. It was my best reading month of the entire year. Pretty stinking amazing. My Goodreads goal, of course I had completed my challenge I think back in November, or at the end of November, but I finished it at 115%, which was a grand total of 195 books for the year, which if you watch my year in review, you will have already seen that. I read 6 3-star books, 10 3.5-star books, 4 4-star books, 1 4.5-star book, and 1 5-star book. I read 15 romance novels, 3 Christian fiction novels, 2 historical romance novels, 1 historical fiction novel, and a mystery. I read 21 adult books and 1 YA. I read 7 books published in the 2000s, 13 published between 2010 and 2016, and 2 published in 2017. I read 10 ebooks, 9 audiobooks, and 3 hardcover books, 20 novels and 2 novellas, a grand total of 5,313 pages, which averages out to about 171 pages a day. So, let's jump into all the books that I read. As usual, I will not go into a lot of detail about these, but I am listing them from my least favorite book of the month to my most favorite book of the month. But first of all, I want to mention the Christmas Hope series. I read 3 of them. I had planned on trying to read all 8 this month, but unfortunately it didn't happen. But the 3 I read were The Christmas Shoes. These are all by Donna VanLiere. And The Christmas Shoes I gave 4 stars to. The Christmas Blessing I gave 3 stars to. And The Christmas Hope got 3.5 stars. I did really enjoy them, and I do hope to continue on with the series, perhaps next year. So, starting off with my least favorite book of the month was Cup of Joy by Courtney Hunt. I gave this book 3 stars. It is book number 12 in the Cupid's Coffee Shop series. I felt that it was really lacking the romance that I was expecting, considering the fact that this story had been building since the very first book. So it was a bit of a disappointment, but all in all, a good end to the series. The next one that I finished was Breakfast with Santa by Pamela Browning. I gave that book 3 stars. This was a good book. I found the child very annoying, but it was a really fun Christmas read, and yeah, it was okay. Next up is The Christmas Present by Tracy Wolff. I gave this book 3 stars as well. Again, it was a cute little contemporary Christmas story, but nothing absolutely spectacular. If you're into, those kind of things, definitely check it out. The next one was What Light by J. Asher. I gave this book 3 stars. It was narrated on audio by Mindy Siegfried. This was a contemporary YA novel taking place at Christmas time. Like I said in my review, I didn't dislike this book. If you are a fan of YA contemporary, definitely check it out. It was a cute enough story. It just isn't anything that I would rush out to purchase. If you can, maybe borrow it from your library and read it that way, just to see if you actually do like it before you invest the money in it. Next up was Merry Xmas by Sheila Roberts. I gave this book 3 stars. It's book number 2 in the Life in Icicle Falls series, and it was narrated on audio by Gia St. Clair. Again, another one that I enjoyed. As you guys know, 3 stars is not a bad rating from me. It's an average rating. I enjoyed the book. And this one I liked far better than the first book in this series, and it has made me now want to continue on with the series. But, it was a cute Christmas story. I just found that there were a lot of characters, and we didn't need that many characters, as far as I'm concerned. Next up is Snow Angel Cove by RaeAnne Thayne. This book I gave 3.5 stars to. It is the first book in the Haven Point series, and it was narrated on audio by Celeste Kalua. I like this one. It was a cute start to the series. This is a book that carries over from another series by RaeAnne Thayne, and you meet like almost every character from that other series, and that was a little bit much as far as I'm concerned. I appreciate having the characters in there to kind of transition from one to the other. You don't have to have read the first series at all, but we didn't need to go into too much background information about them as far as I was concerned, and I think that book did this a little bit too much, which I found a little tiresome, to be honest. The next book is Christmas Eve at Friday Harbor. This was by Lisa Kelypas. I give this book 3.5 stars. It was the first book in the Friday Harbor series, and it was narrated on audio by Tanya Eby. This is a relatively short novel. It's under 200 pages. It's a cute little Christmas story, but it doesn't completely take place at Christmas time, no matter what the title tells you. It actually starts in the summer and then carries over the course of about 6 months. So it's not a quick romance, it's a slow burn romance, but it's a really cute story. Next up was Starry Night by Debbie Macomber. I gave this book 3.5 stars. It was narrated on audio by Rebecca Lohman. I really enjoyed this story. I thought it was really cute. Debbie Macomber, it's a clean, very clean story. It's a really cute relationship. I had a very hard time believing the relationship. You know, she's a high-powered, reporter from Chicago, and he's a wilderness guy living in Alaska. They were a little too far apart on the social spectrum to be too believable to me, but it was still an adorable story and I liked it. Next up, Montana's Secret Santa by Debra Salonen. I gave this book 3.5 stars. It was book number 3 in the Love at the Chocolate Shop series. Another great addition to the series. I absolutely adored it, and I'm looking forward to reading the rest of them. And these covers are just absolutely adorable. Next book, Burning Bright by Maggie, Shayne, Judith Arnold, and Anne Stuart. I gave this book 3.5 stars. It was an anthology of 3 Christmas stories, or 3 holiday stories. One was a Christmas story, one was a Hanukkah story, and one took place during the winter solstice. So it was nice getting the 3 different perspectives on these 3 different holidays, but they all take place in the same small town, and they are interconnected that way. So it was really fun. Next up was Dear Santa by Karen Templeton. I gave this book 3.5 stars. It is book number 1 in the Guys and Daughters series, and I just realized that I did not talk about this book in my wrap-up. My weekly wrap-up. I must have missed it. I do apologize. I will mention it now. I really enjoyed this book. It was a really cute story about a young girl whose mother passes away, and the father's always been kind of standoffish. He's not exactly sure how to handle a young child. He never had the best relationship with his parents growing up. And, it was really well written, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm absolutely looking forward to getting to the rest of the series. Next book is The Heiress and the Hothead by Sabrina Jeffries. I gave this book 3.5 stars. It is book number 1.5 in the Sinful Suitors series. I really enjoyed this book. It was a really cute novella, a Christmas novella, and there are some, real-life issues that are dealt with in this book, or they would have been real-life issues during the Victorian times, or the Regency period, excuse me. And yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a great addition to the series. The next book is Scandal at the Christmas Ball by Marguerite, Kaye, and Bronwyn Scott. I gave this book 3.5 stars. It was another anthology, a Regency anthology, both taking place at the same Christmas ball over the course of a 2-week period between Christmas and New Year's, and 2 different couples, and it was really great, and I really enjoyed it. Next one, The Blackest Crimson by Deborah Webb. I gave this book 3.5 stars. It is book 0.5 in the Shades of Death series. This was a well-written book. It was highly disturbing, same as the very first book in this series. My issue with this was that it kind of rehashed a lot of what happens in the first book. You just go into more detail. So it's not really a book you necessarily have to read in order to appreciate the first book, but there are some things that if you read this book first, you're in the same spot as the main character, that you don't know what happens in book 1, obviously, but unfortunately I read book 1 first, so I was privy to information that the main character did not have, even at the end of this first novella. So that made it even more heartbreaking in the long run, because, I've already seen into the future, essentially. The next book is Mistletoe on Main Street by Olivia Miles. I gave this book 4 stars. It's the first book in the Briar Creek series. Really cute contemporary romance, taking place at Christmas time in small town Vermont. It is a second chance romance. If you like that, definitely check this book out. This was a new to me author this year, and I really enjoyed her writing, and I'm very much looking forward to reading the rest of the books in this series. Next, we have One Snowy Night by Jill Shalvis. I gave this book 4 stars. It's book 2.5 in the Heartbreaker Bay series, and was narrated on audio by Karen White. Great little side story to Rory and Matt, or is it Mark? I can't remember. But essentially, they are driving up the coast together to Tahoe from, it must be up the coast, to Tahoe from San Francisco for Christmas, during Christmas Eve. So it all takes place over Christmas Eve. And it's a really fun story. And yeah, the banter between the characters, and I adored Rory in the second book in Blame It on the Mistletoe, so it was really nice that she got her own book. Speaking of The Trouble with Mistletoe, that came in as my next book, and I also gave it 4 stars. It was book number 2, like I said, in the Heartbreaker Bay series, narrated on audio by Karen White. Again, love this one. This was Willa's story, and she runs the pet shop that Rory works at that I talked about in the book just prior. And I can't remember his name. Keen. I think his name was Keen, was the love interest in this book. And, you know, the two of them are great. It's sexy, it's funny, it's Jill Shalvis, and it's Christmas time. And it was so nice meeting back with this set of characters again, and I really loved it, and I really recommend this series. Second last, Miracle on Fifth Avenue by Sarah Morgan. I gave this book 4.5 stars. It's the 3rd book in the From Manhattan with Love series, and it was narrated on audio by Jennifer Woodward. I love this series so much. You guys know that. The only thing that kind of bothered me about this book, if I will, and it's because it was on audio, is I found the narrator's voice got a little too high for Evie, the main character. She started to sound like really too high-pitched at some points. Now, that could have also been the fact that I listened to it at a higher speed. Maybe I should have taken that into account. But still, it was a really, really great Christmas story, and I absolutely loved it, and I highly recommend this whole series. And last but not least, my favorite book of the month was, of course, Mr. Dickens and His Carole by Samantha Silva. I gave this book 5 stars. This is a historical fiction novel told roughly about the telling of a fictionalized version of Dickens writing A Christmas Carol. And I absolutely loved it. I've been talking about it in every video I've done this week. And yeah, please do yourself a favor and go and check it out. You know, put it on your wish list to read next Christmas. It's a great Christmas read. It's full of hope and joy and family, and, you know, and a lot of, if you're a fan of Dickens too, there's a lot of great nods to his other books in this story, which is fabulous. Anyway, guys, that is it. Oh, I forgot to mention, sorry, that Mr. Dickens and His Carole was narrated on audio by Ewan Morton. Sorry, it was on the other page here. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please let me know if you read any good books in December, or how you did in December for your TBR, and I will talk to you all in my next video. Until then, take care and happy reading, everybody. Bye.